You're pulling into a Costco parking lot on a Saturday afternoon and you watch a brand new pickup truck back into the spot next to yours. Crew cab, blacked out grille, factory fresh paint, the kind of chrome that hurts your eyes a little in direct sunlight. A guy steps out. He's wearing the polo shirt with the embroidered logo from the regional HVAC company he works for. Lunchbox on the passenger seat. There's a kid's car seat in the back. He walks around to the bed, unlatches the tailgate, and loads in one case of bottled water and a giant bag of toilet paper. That's the haul. That's what the truck did today. And the truck cost more than his parents paid for their first house. My name is Nick, and today we're going to do something the auto industry desperately does not want us doing. We're going to figure out who can actually afford a $50,000 truck in 2026. Not who the dealer will approve. Who can actually afford it without quietly turning their entire financial life into a slow motion car accident? Let's start with something nobody wants to admit out loud. $50,000 used to buy you a really nice truck. Today, $50,000 barely gets you a base model with the door panels and the wheels included. Just so we're working with real numbers here, the average transaction price for a new full-size pickup in 2026 is about $66,000. $66,000, that's the average. That's what the typical buyer is actually driving off the lot in. So when we talk about a $50,000 truck, we are not talking about the loaded one with the chrome step bars and the heated steering wheel and the panoramic sunroof. We are talking about the stripped down work truck version, a base Ford F15 OXLT, which is the most popular trim, has an MSRP right around $48,500. A Chevy Silverado LT around $47,900. A Ram 1500 Bighorn, roughly $47,500. By the time you add a couple of options, taxes, dock fees, and whatever creative line item the dealership invents that week, you've crossed $50,000 without even ordering leather seats. So when I say a $50,000 truck, I want you to picture the responsible truck, the reasonable truck, the truck where the guy at the dealership says, this is the smart move, and it still costs $50,000. Now, the median household income in America right now is about $84,000 a year, pre-tax. That means we are asking the average American household to spend roughly 60% of their entire pre-tax annual income on one vehicle. A vehicle that, by the way, will be worth about half of what they paid for it within 5 years. So the first uncomfortable truth is this. The $50,000 truck isn't actually the everyman's truck anymore. It's the floor. It's the lowest rung on a ladder where the average rung is $66,000 and the top rung, the Raptor R you see on TikTok, is $113,000. Trucks have quietly become luxury items wearing a high-vis vest. They are marketed to look like working-class American values, but they are priced like Italian sports cars from 20 years ago, and nobody is saying anything about it. We just sort of accepted that a half-ton pickup now costs the same as a 4-year degree. So now let's talk about how people are actually paying for these things, because, spoiler alert, they are not paying cash. So you walk into the dealership, you've decided on the $50,000 truck. The salesman who has been doing this for 15 years and could sell winter coats in Phoenix asks you the magic question. What kind of monthly payment are you comfortable with? Notice he didn't ask what truck you can afford. He didn't ask what the total cost of the vehicle is. He asked about your monthly payment, because the monthly payment is where the magic trick happens. Here's how the magic works. You know, the average new auto loan in America right now stretches almost 69 months. That's 5.5 years. But for trucks specifically, nearly 30% of new vehicle loans are now between 73 and 84 months. That's 6 to 7 years. And for buyers rolling over negative equity from their last truck, 43% of those loans get stretched to the full 84 months. 7 years of payments on a depreciating piece of metal that loses 20% of its value the second you drive it off the lot. Let's actually do this math because the math is the whole point. You buy a $50,000 truck, you put $0 down because you don't have 10 grand sitting around, and neither does anyone else. We'll be generous. And say you got a 7% interest rate, which is roughly the current average. You stretch it over 84 months to make the payment feel manageable. Your monthly payment is $754.85. Sounds reasonable, right? Under $800 a month. You can do that. Now, here's the magic trick revealed. Over the life of that loan, you will pay $63,407 for a truck that cost $50,000. That's $13,407 in interest. You just paid a free Honda Civic to the bank in exchange for the privilege of spreading the payments out. By the end of year one, your $50,000 truck is worth about $40,000, but your loan balance is still around $45,700, which means you are now $5,700 underwater on a truck you have technically only owned for 12 months. And this isn't even the brutal part. This is just the setup, because the truck doesn't care that your transmission needs work. The truck doesn't care that you lost overtime this quarter. The truck just wants its $754.85 every month for 7 years, whether you can afford it or not. Okay, let's take a quick break from the math to fully appreciate where we are as a society, because I want you to sit with this number for a second. In the fourth quarter of 2025, 20.3% of all new vehicle purchases in America came with a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. 1 in 5 new car buyers is paying over $1,000 a month on their vehicle. That is not a payment. That is a second rent. That is a third of the median full-time worker's take-home pay just for the privilege of getting to and from their job. And here's the part that should genuinely break your brain. Walk through any new truck dealership lot in 2026 and look at who is actually buying. You're looking at a parking lot full of vehicles being driven home by the top 15% of American earners. The other 85% are at the used lot down the street, financing a 2019 Silverado at 14% interest because the new market has quietly stopped including them. The new car market is now an affluent product. If you are middle class, the system has already moved on without telling you. But here's the thing. Trucks did not get the memo. Trucks are still marketed as the everyman's vehicle. They're in every country music video. They're in every commercial about hardworking American values. They're the official vehicle of like getting up at 5 a.m. and being a real one. And yet, the people in those commercials, the actual blue-collar workers the truck is supposed to represent, are increasingly the ones who cannot afford to buy them. So who is buying them? Some of them are genuine high earners who can absorb the cost. Most of them are middle-class people stretching themselves into a financial position they don't fully understand yet, signing 84-month loans because the salesman said the magic words, "You're approved." And being approved, I cannot stress this enough, is not the same as being able to afford it. The bank's idea of "you can afford this" includes you eating ramen for 3 years and skipping your kids' dental appointments. The bank does not care. The bank just wants the $754.85. And the salesman, he's already moved on to the next guy walking through the door in a polo shirt with a logo on it, looking for the same magic. Now let's add the part of truck ownership that the dealership conveniently leaves off the sticker, because the loan payment is just the beginning. You also have to actually use the truck, and using the truck is expensive in ways that would make a mortgage broker uncomfortable. Insurance on a new $50,000 truck, about $185 a month. That's just for the privilege of being allowed to drive it. Fuel. A full-size pickup gets about 18 miles per gallon combined. 15,000 miles a year at $4 a gallon, which in 2026 is $275 a month. Maintenance, oil changes, the inevitable brake job. $90 a month if you don't think about it too hard. Tires. Truck tires are not regular tires. A full set runs $800 to $1,600 installed, and you'll need them around 50,000 miles, which sounds far away until you remember that's 3 years. Specialty tires on a Tremor or a Trail Boss, up to $3,000 a set. Registration and taxes, another $90 a month, depending on your state. And then there's the silent killer, depreciation. Your $50,000 truck loses about $10,000 of value in year 1 alone. Another $9,000 by year 5. That's value evaporating off the hood while you sleep. Add it all up. Loan payment $755, insurance $185, fuel $275, maintenance and tires $90, registration $90. Total $1,400 a month. Every month for 7 years to own this thing. Now let me show you what that looks like in a real household, because numbers on a page are easy to ignore. Numbers in a Tuesday are not. Meet the Garcias. Both work. Combined income $90,000 a year, which puts them above the median. They have 2 kids. Carlos works for a mid-sized logistics company. Maria is an elementary school teacher. They live in a 3-bedroom rental in a suburb where every other driveway has a pickup in it. Last year, Carlos bought the $50,000 truck, 84-month loan, 0 down. Salesman said he was approved. Payment is $755. Here's what their Tuesday looks like now. Carlos leaves for work at 6. He drives the truck 38 miles each way. Mostly highway, alone. The bed is empty. It is always empty. Maria takes the kids to school in their 2014 Honda CR-V, which has 140,000 miles and a check engine light that comes on whenever it rains. After taxes, the Garcias take home about $5,600 a month. Rent is $1,850. Childcare for the youngest is $1,200. Groceries $800, utilities $350. The truck, all in with insurance and gas, is $1,400. That leaves them exactly $0 before they've bought a single thing they didn't have to buy. No clothes for the kids, no dentist, no date night, no savings, no 401k when the CR-V's transmission finally gives out next spring, and the repair will go on a credit card because there is nothing in the emergency fund because there is no emergency fund. And Carlos, who genuinely believed he was being responsible by buying the smart money base trim, will spend the next 6.5 years making a $755 payment on a truck he uses to carry his lunchbox to a desk. The truck didn't ruin his life, the math did, and nobody at the dealership ever showed him the math. Okay, I can already hear the comments, but Nick, I need a truck. I tow stuff, I haul things, I have a job that requires it. And listen, if that is genuinely you, this video isn't really for you. If you actually use your truck for truck things, more power to you. But the data on truck usage in America is genuinely hilarious. There is this ongoing study from Strategic Vision that has surveyed over 250,000 truck owners about how they actually use their trucks. And here's what they found. 75% of truck owners tow once a year or less. Almost 70% go off-road once a year or less. 35% of truck owners put something in the bed once a year or less. Roughly 90% never use their truck for any kind of work. The Ford F-150 study specifically found that 63% of owners rarely or never tow, 32% rarely or never haul anything, and 87% frequently use the truck for shopping and errands. So let me translate. The average modern pickup truck is a tall, expensive, gas-thirsty grocery getter. It is, statistically speaking, a Costco vehicle. Picture Dave. Dave is an office manager at a mid-size accounting firm. Dave bought the truck in 2022 because he genuinely, sincerely thought he was going to get into camping. He bought a kayak the same year. The kayak is still in the garage. It has never seen water. It is, at this point, basically a $400 piece of garage art. Dave drives the truck 30 miles round trip to an office park. The bed has had 3 things in it in 3 years, a bag of mulch, a Christmas tree, and a couch he Facebook marketplaced for $40. That couch did not pay for 1 month of his truck payment. Dave is fine, by the way. Dave is not a victim. Dave is just the average truck owner. Which brings us to the actual point. We are paying $66,000 on average for vehicles that, for most of their lives, are hauling 2 bags of mulch from Home Depot once a year and being parked outside an office building. And we are paying that price because trucks have stopped being trucks. They have become identity. They are the 4-wheeled performance of the kind of person you want other people to think you are. Capable, rugged, American, outdoors, even if your actual life mostly involves a desk, a commute, and a strong opinion about which gas station has the best coffee. And I'm not even mocking that. I get it. Buying a vehicle is, for a lot of people, the most public statement they make about themselves. A truck says something. The problem is The thing it says costs $1,400 a month. And if you can't actually afford to say that thing, the truck stops being an identity and starts being a problem. If you're still here, you're probably the kind of person who actually wants to know this. Most people clicked away during the loan math, which honestly proves the whole point of the video. The people who most need to see the next number are the ones who already left. So let's reward you for staying, because this is the part that if you take one thing away, please take this. Let's say instead of buying the $50,000 truck, you bought a $20,000 used car, like a 5-year-old Toyota Camry, boring, reliable, the kind of car your dentist drives. The total monthly cost of that Camry, including the loan, insurance, gas, maintenance, all of it, would be about $700 a month versus the $1,400 a month for the truck. That is a difference of $700 every single month. Now, what if you took that $700 difference and just invested it in a basic index fund? Nothing fancy. Just the S&P 500 historically returns about 8% annually over the long run. If you invested $700 a month for 30 years, you would end up with approximately $1.04 million. $1 million. That is literally a retirement. That is the difference between retiring at 65 and retiring at 75. That is the difference between leaving your kids something and leaving them nothing. That is the difference between dying with options and dying with bills. All because in your 30s, you decided you wanted the truck. I'm not saying you can't buy a truck. I'm saying you should know what the truck actually costs. The $50,000 price tag is the smallest number in the equation. The 7 years of interest is the next smallest. The compounding opportunity cost of every dollar you spent on that truck is the actual price. And nobody tells you that because there is no commission paid out when you walk out of a dealership and decide to invest the money instead. Nobody at Fidelity is buying a yacht because you open an index fund. The whole financial structure of America is set up to gently nudge you toward the truck because the truck is profitable for everyone except you. The dealer makes the margin, the bank makes the interest, the insurance company makes the premiums, the gas station makes the fill-ups, the manufacturer makes the markup. The only person in that entire chain who loses money on the deal is you. And the only way you find out about it is 12 years later when you look at your retirement account, look at your friend's retirement account, and quietly wonder what they figured out that you didn't. So let's finally answer the question in the title. Who can actually afford a $50,000 truck in 2026? Under traditional financial wisdom, the 20/4/10 rule, which says you should put 20% down, finance for no more than 4 years, and keep total transportation costs under 10% of your gross income. The answer is this: you need to make approximately $150,000 a year. You need to have $10,000 in cash for a down payment. You need to be able to absorb a monthly payment closer to $950 on a 4-year loan, not the $755 on the 7-year loan that the salesman is going to push you toward. So who actually fits that profile? Roughly the top 15% of American household earners, not the top 1%, not the rich, but solidly upper middle class to wealthy households. Dual income professionals, people with stable, high-paying jobs and no major debt. And even those people, statistically, are not the ones buying these trucks the most aggressively. The people buying the most trucks are middle-class households making $60,000 to $100,000 a year. The Garcias, the Daves, they are doing it by stretching loan terms, putting nothing down, and quietly accepting that 30% of their take-home pay will go to their truck for the next 7 years. They are doing it because the dealership told them they could. They're doing it because their cousin did it. They are doing it because the commercials made it look normal, and they are doing it because nobody in their life is sitting them down and showing them this math. Until now. Hopefully, because if this video does anything, I hope it just makes one person pause before signing that paperwork. Pause and run the actual numbers, not the monthly payment, the total numbers, the 7-year numbers, the opportunity cost numbers, because The difference between affording a truck and being trapped by a truck is just one honest calculation that nobody in the dealership wants you to do. Here's what I want you to do. Before you buy any vehicle in 2026, sit down for 30 minutes and do the actual math. Add up the loan, the insurance, the fuel, the maintenance, the tires, the registration, the depreciation. Compare it to your take-home pay and ask yourself one honest question. Can I really afford this, or have I just been told that I can? Because there is a massive difference between being approved and being able to afford it. The bank's risk tolerance and your ability to live a financially stable life are not the same calculation. And in 2026, with trucks priced like luxury items and loans stretched out like prison sentences, the gap between those two numbers is wider than it has ever been. The truth is, the auto industry is not in the business of selling you transportation anymore. It is in the business of selling you identity packaged as transportation, financed over 7 years at 7% interest. And every commercial, every showroom, every monthly payment-focused sales pitch is designed to keep you from doing the math you just watched me do. If you actually need a truck, if you tow, if you haul, if you run a business out of the bed, if you live somewhere where four-wheel drive is genuinely the difference between getting to work and not getting there, then buy the truck with clear eyes, knowing the real cost. But if you don't, the bravest financial decision you can make in 2026 isn't buying the truck. It's looking at the math, looking at the salesman, looking at the chrome, and saying, no thanks, I'll keep my retirement.